Only handed Jackson back to life. I call him Vex.
Hi, welcome to Talking Who. I'm Rob,
I'm Casey.
and we're going to be talking about episode 7, The Long Game.
Now, if this is your first time watching, Rob is brand new to Doctor Who, and I've been watching Doctor Who for years. So I'm doing a rewatch as he watches for the first time, and we talk from two different points of view. So we always have fun. We hope you enjoy it as well.
Yep.
All right. So The Long Game.
Start it off.
You still there?
They are. Yeah, hear me?
No, you're breaking up.
That's good. Let's see.
Well, to keep y'all interested as he fixes things, we are also going to talk about Rob's first trip to the Who North America, my favorite store. And we might have some recent Doctor Who pickups to show you.
Yeah. Can you hear me better now?
Oh, yeah. Can you hear my dogs?
All right. Yeah, I hear dogs. All right.
Sorry about the dogs, people.
Yeah, it's all right. So this one starts out. They show up on what seems to be a space station.
Satellite.
5.
Mm-hmm. I took notes.
I didn't take notes on this one. I've already forgot the guy's name, the English from last episode. Adam. Yeah, that's right, Adam. The Doctor and Rose, they step out of the TARDIS, and the Doctor's giving her some insight on what's going on there, where they're at, what time it is, the time period that it is, so she can try to impress Adam. So then they get him out, and she presents herself as being super knowledgeable about the time travel experience, like she's equal to the Doctor there on his knowledge of where they're at and where they're going and the structure, and it appears to be a space station of some sort and all that kind of stuff. So
yeah, that was pretty funny.
Yeah. Moving on a little quickly, I guess. Once they show him the planet Earth and go through all that, he passes out, and then of course the Doctor has to throw his one-liner in there of "That's your boyfriend," and she says, "Not anymore."
Yeah, that's pretty good. Rose is a great character.
Yeah, I do like her.
Adam, not so much.
Yeah. You want to take it from there, from where we left off?
Well, at that point, the space station, Station 5, comes alive with people all getting about the work day. So the Doctor and Rose are asking around about, what it is. And they find out it's a news station that reports to news from all over the galaxy. And that's about all they find out right there.
Yeah. As they're asking questions, they believe it's some kind of trick, somewhat, that they're in management testing the employee's knowledge.
Yeah,
That's what allows him to get some of the information about what's going on there.
because the doctor said that, for that time period, they're about 90 years behind.
Hmm.
So that's why he's so curious.
Yeah. And then he basically tries to set up Adam and Rose on their first date or something, and gives them uses his little stick there to, I don't know why I always forget the name of that.
Sonic screwdriver.
Sonic screwdriver. That should be pretty easy to remember,
Right.
but he gets them some modern cash, so they go get something to eat and things like that while he's kind of snooping around a little bit, right? Trying to
Yeah.
walk around.
Do you remember what the slushy was? What flavor the slushy was?
Yeah. She said, I think it's some kind of meat or something like that.
Yeah, it sounded like she said beef,
Beef.
but
Yeah, beef.
I
Meat,
just thought
beef.
that was funny. Yeah,
Yeah. It still sounds gross to me.
might be good.
I don't think I could drink a beef slushy. I don't know.
Could be good. You don't know.
Could be. I of course people don't know, but I, my spouse is from another country, not America, here where we live, and I've had the interesting experience of trying some different stuff, so I'm sure it wouldn't be any worse than some of the things that I've tried overseas.
So
Go ahead.
they're on the space station,
Mhm.
and they show up to level 500, which is supposed to be the top level for any promotions. That's where you want to be. And
Yeah, and the walls are made of gold. Sorry to walk on you.
no,
That's
you're right.
the that's the reputation of that floor. The walls are made of gold and all this kind of stuff.
And at this point, we get to see one of my favorite actors, Simon
Yeah,
Pegg, playing the editor, which I thought he did a fantastic job.
uh, yeah. That we'll talk more about this later. Uh, the episode was okay. Not one of my favorites. I think it was the worst one that I've seen so far. Like, I even liked The Unquiet Dead better. Like, I think all the other episodes up to this one were better than this episode for some reason. Just me personally, it
Yeah,
was hard to get into it, but I enjoyed it. All the acting, everybody did a really good job acting, so it didn't have anything to do with the actors or the people in the show. And even, the effects and everything were okay. It's not like they just made a bad show. It just wasn't my favorite.
right.
But everybody did do a really good job. I mean, uh, the actress that plays Rose, I don't know, Billy Piper or something like
Yep,
that, right?
yep.
Um, she always does a good job. She's gotten better every episode, I think. Her acting skills are, of course, they've developed her character more, so
Right.
she's naturally going to get better. So she does a really good job. And of course, the doctor's always the doctor.
Yeah,
He always does an excellent job. Adam, the guy that plays Adam, he does a good job at playing his character, but I'm just not a fan of his character.
right. He makes you dislike him.
Yeah, yeah. Which we will talk about even more reasons not to like him the further we get into the story.
Yep.
So we are now just talking about floor 500 and your guy,
The editor,
Pig, the
Simon Pegg.
editor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just a little side note. He's in my favorite comedy,
Yeah.
Hot Fuzz. My favorite comedy. Unless we go back to the '80s, there's a lot of great '80s comedies. But
Yeah.
now back to Who.
Yeah.
So they leave Adam alone,
Hmm.
and he's
Not a
going
very
through
good
the
idea.
computer. No, that's not. And he starts going to computers and realizes that he can't access everything he wants to access.
Yeah.
So he gets a screen saying go to level 16,
Yeah.
which we find out is where you upgrade to a level 1 chip or a level 2 chip. Level 2 being the one that splits your head open.
Yeah.
And thanks to the doctor giving him all the credits, he opts for option 2. And we find
Yeah.
out why in a little bit.
Hmm. Was it before that though, where the three of them were still together, and that's where they kind of went into the room and
Yeah,
they saw the process? It was right. It was before Adam took, or before they separated from Adam. They had went into, I guess, an information room, and that's where they showed how uh, one of the ladies was the conduit,
yeah. Her name was Caprica.
Caprica,
Yeah,
and she received she she doesn't receive the information because her brain, the human brain can't handle all that information and remember it all, but it processes through. And if uh, if those who have not seen it can picture this, it's almost like a dentist chair. Somebody sits in the middle of the room in like a dentist chair, leaning back, and their forehead opens up, and like a laser beam goes into the center of their forehead, straight into the brain. And there's people sitting around cross-legged with these devices in front of them where they have to put the palms of both their hands, and they kind of look like they go into some kind of trance while they're processing all the information. And each one of them gets like 600,000 bits of information or something like that.
yeah. I think they
But
said channels, or I don't know.
yeah.
But the whole thing's set up kind of weird. It's hard to explain. You just have to watch it.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Um, but it was during that time period. This is one of the things I kind of didn't like, but I mean, I guess they had to throw something in there so they could get that lady promoted. Let's say that. But it's while they were in there that the editor monitoring everything with a small group of people, which we'll talk about once we get further on into this episode. As he's talking to those people, or as he is instructing them to monitor everything, he's saying that somebody doesn't belong. There's been a breach on the space station. Naturally, we're all thinking it's the Doctor and Rose and Adam, but it was actually someone else within that group,
Suki.
Suki. So they kind of cut the connection short, kind of zaps her, I guess,
Yeah.
and they're all saying, "Hey, what's going on?" and this and that. and a big screen appears, right? Big screen where they saying that there's been a promotion, correct?
Correct.
And then they promote Suki, tell her to go to the 500th floor, and the other lady that was the conduit, I guess.
Yeah.
What was her name again? I'm sorry.
Caprica.
Caprica. Um, she was kind of jealous because she'd been trying to get a promotion forever. She really wanted that promotion. They gave it to Suki.
Yeah.
But as you will learn later on, I won't give too much detail now. It's probably a good thing she did not get promoted.
Right.
All right.
So then we go to the elevator as she's preparing to go up to level 500 for her promotion. And the doctor's like, "Why are you acting like you're never going to see her again? She's just going upstairs." And she says, Caprica responds, "Nobody ever comes back from level 500." So
Yeah.
that makes you think right there. Plus, we know there's something shifty going on up there anyway.
Yeah.
Because we've been watching the show.
Correct.
So
but
then she goes up for her promotion, and everything is freezing. There's like frost or iced over. She walks into a control room, and everyone's dead. They look like mummies, kind of. They're mummified, frozen, solid.
yeah, yeah. One thing to go way back to the beginning that we forgot to throw out there is Rose made one little quick comment when they got off the TARDIS and they were in there. She talked about how warm it was.
Right. Yeah.
And that factors in now later. We'll understand why they just kind of threw that little tiny hint in there earlier and forgot to mention it.
Yeah, me too.
Because I forgot about it when we were talking about it, but then I was like, oh yeah, the ice. She mentioned something about how hot it was, so now that's going to play in a little bit more. So she's looking around. She's looking around up there, seeing everything. Like you said, everything's iced over, and a door opens up to the editing room. Correct?
Yeah. She walks up in there.
Mm-hmm.
And then the editor shows her fake life, who she says she is, then shows her real life. She's I think they call them freedom fighters, trying to figure out what's going on up there.
Yeah.
And then she gets to meet the editor in chief.
Yeah.
You remember what that thing's name is?
I do not.
They call him the Jaggy Fest.
Jaggy Fest. Yeah.
Jaggy Fest. But
They didn't call him that
character calls him Max.
Yeah, that's what I remembered was Max.
Yeah.
But I didn't remember the actual.
They didn't call him that yet, but they showed him. So
yeah,
that's why I brought it up.
That was one of the things, not about the editor or the editor in chief, so to speak. What? And maybe I'm just being nitpicky, or over analyzing for some reason in the back of my head. But that's one of the things I kind of didn't like was they kind of established this woman's character, and she's supposed to be some freedom fighter or whatever, but they didn't really. All they did is like show her with a gun, and there was no more of that storyline to it. I think they could have done. I understand limited resources and limited time to film and write and all that kind of stuff, but I think it would have been nicer if they would have found some kind of way to expand a little bit more on her story, just not like she's an intruder. Oh, she was a freedom fighter. Now you're going to meet the editor and become a lifelong worker here. You know what I mean? It just seemed it seemed almost forced in there.
Well, they had to figure out some way to make her the glitch and not the doctor. So they had to give her some kind of backstory.
Yeah, and I get that, but I don't know. I think it would have been pretty cool if they could have expanded a little bit more on the freedom fighter thing storyline, or her kind of working behind the scenes a little bit, trying to disrupt or things like that. But I was just overanalyzing it, I guess, because I like that part of the story, but at the same time, I was like, oh, that could have been really good if they could have snuck a little bit more in about that.
Yeah.
But I understand why they couldn't and didn't.
So at this point, now the Doctor and Rose are kind of breaking into the mainframe, I guess. And they're trying to figure out what's going on at level 500. And they notice that the heat is coming down from 500.
Yeah.
And all the resources are being made to cool level 500. Like something up there is just letting off a lot of heat.
Yeah, he tapped into the grid there using like a tablet.
Yeah.
Pulled it out of the panel on the wall, looking at all the schematics of the space station.
So then Suki's like, well, it's not like you can get up there. So he hacks the code to get up there.
Yeah, and she's like, I didn't see this.
I think at this point, the editor made sure he got it because he's watching him and he wants him up there.
Yeah.
So I thought that was kind of neat.
Yeah. We haven't seen the editor in chief yet, but it was kind of a different approach this episode, to where you never really see what it is until like kind of the very end. And it's not, as I said, wasn't one of my favorite aliens or creatures that I've seen on the show so far. But we'll get to that.
Mine either, but I liked the story. I thought it was pretty good. So the Doctor and Rose make it up to 500. And at this point, Adam is doing the spike download so he could try to. I mean, this is all to make money when he gets home.
Yeah.
He's downloading all this technical stuff. He just shows how shifty he is.
Yeah. And he also contacts his own home through that phone, the phone that the doctor gave Rose, where he's able to, she's able to contact at any time. She can still get a hold of her family and everything. Doesn't matter where they're at in the universe or how many years in the future or the past or whatever, she can still use that phone and contact home.
Yep.
And he's pretty shifty about that too. He's like, do not erase this recording. And he's trying to pull all this information into his own home so he can use it for his personal gain, like you said.
Oh yeah. He's thinking about being rich.
Yeah. I don't think he was doing it just for the knowledge.
No.
So
Then, once they're up there, they see what Suki saw, the dead people in the one room. Then they walk into the main control room, and Rose runs over to Suki to talk to her, and the doctor's like, she's dead. Which I thought was a nice touch, that the chips in their heads are just, they keep them working forever, even though they're dead.
Yeah, I'm gonna go back to that when we get just a little bit further. But
Okay.
keep that in mind about they're dead and the chips in there. So, but then the editor starts questioning them, right? And he's like, "You guys are nobody or no one. You're no one." Kept saying "you're no one" over and over again, trying to get information on how is it possible that nobody in the universe, like there's no one in the universe, neither one of them.
Yeah. Until he gets the information from Adam.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So not only was he trying to access everything for his own personal gain, he's giving all the knowledge and information that he knows about the Doctor and Rose and the TARDIS and time travel and everything. He's also providing that information to this other creature and to the editor so they can expand even further what their control, their mind control. They can expand it even further because now they can access, this is what the editor in chief is thinking. Oh, now we have access to this time machine and we'll be able to, go through time and universes and everything and do this. All thanks to Adam being a little greedy.
Yeah. Yep.
Even though obviously they were greedy also because they want to control everything, but
Yep.
he gave them the information that they needed. So after that, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I'm just gonna say after that, after the editor got that information, it's like, oh wow, Time Lord and all this kind of thing. And then, as I already mentioned, they kind of talked about that on how they have the knowledge now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, do you remember how they got saved from there?
Yeah. The girl got curious. What's her name again? Sorry.
Caprica.
Caprica. I don't know. Yeah. Every time I think that in my head, I think about the stupid astrological signs, and I keep wanting to say Capricorn, and I know it's not that.
Yeah, I had to write it down or I'd forget it.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I didn't get. I remember everything about the show, but I just didn't remember all the names. I didn't write it down or anything. That's on me this time. People can hate on that. I forgot the names. I'm not good with names. Write them down more often. Hold on a second here. Getting interrupted. There we go. Sorry about that.
Right.
She let her curiosity kind of get the better of her, and at one point in time, I think she even said something about, about she should have got promoted or something to that effect, right?
Very jealous.
Yeah. Like, that should have been me that got promoted. So she kind of taps in, decides to go up for herself. So she shows up while the other people are distracted, and in the editing room, Dr. Rose, the editor, Suki, frozen Suki, uh, they're while they're in there all distracted, she sneaks upstairs and looks around just like everybody else, sees all the dead people, and she kind of sneaks into a corner and eavesdrops on what's going on in the editing room.
Mm-hmm.
And after she gets done kind of hearing the editor uh, basically finds out that everything is just, it's kind of like a scam. It's just to control all human race, everything.
Yep.
It's about power, control, and greed. And the only way that she can think of to help in this situation is go back where those dead bodies are and throw that one body out of the chair. There was still a skeleton in that chair, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And she had to get rid of that dead body. She crawled up in that chair, leaned back like she did earlier in the show, and opened up her forehead and tapped in. Would be better on this one. She to describe this one, she tapped into the stream, tapped into all the information there, trying to disrupt it.
Yeah. And what she uploaded was the truth that she found out.
Mm-hmm.
And somehow that made everything warm up there. I think maybe she might have went back and changed the flow of the heat and
Yeah,
the
I thought.
pipes.
I think that was one of the things that she did. Is I remember her adjusting the temperature of the space station, adjusting the floor. I
Yeah.
do remember that part. And she was uploading something, of
The
course,
truth.
as you said, the truth. So
So
it was causing all kinds of glitches in the system then, and then the heat, obviously, with the floor 500 getting warmed up, the editor in chief, Max, uh, can't handle the heat. They said something about his metabolism is so super high that it produces so much heat. That's why it was all cooled down. So I don't think we mentioned that yet. The whole reason the upstairs was frozen, not just for that creature, it's because that creature's metabolism was so extreme that they had to keep it iced down because he produced it produced way too much heat, and that heat would have destroyed the space station, which
well,
inevitably it did.
didn't destroy the space station. It destroyed him. He blew
Well,
up. Space station's fine.
yeah, well,
That's important to know because you'll see it again.
like the space station was not destroyed, but there was some damage done to it because the computers were going offline. People were going crazy because their chips were messing up and stuff like that, right? Or
Yep.
running around.
So at this point, it's fair to say that Caprica saved all the humans.
Mm-hmm.
So that was nice. I like how the story ended there, but the story's not quite done. Still have
Yeah,
to deal with Adam.
yeah. But before that, you had mentioned something about this is the part that I thought was somewhat confusing or contradictory. But when I rewatched it, the doctor said, I think she's dead when she ran up to Suki, and that the chips is what kept them going, but she was actually dead. But towards the end, when the editor tried to run away and Suki was on the floor, she grabbed his leg, which kind of makes you think that she still had some of her old self in her, because she grabbed his leg to hold him in there, right? So it was kind of, if she was dead, she wouldn't have thought to try to reach out and hold him in there. But then again, if she was naturally dead and the chip was keeping her alive, I guess she was still alive and she was in there somewhere, but the chip is what was making her body work. So she would still have her memories and her thoughts and everything. She just didn't really have major control because she's technically dead, but the electricity and the chip and everything was keeping her alive. Because it was just, because they said something about he thinks she's dead, but she was having her own thought later, because she knew to grab the editor, grab his leg to hold him in there, almost like she was having a thought. Right?
So here's how I saw it. The editor is important, but the editor in chief is running the place. And at this point, he has not blown up yet, because Simon Pegg's character was telling him that he's going to have to resign, and he started to run. And when she's on the ground, she grabbed him. I think that Jaggerfest is the one controlling everything, so that's why she grabbed him. Well, I mean, they don't explain it. I mean, everybody has their own interpretation. That's just how I saw it.
Yeah, and that makes sense. But I was thinking that Caprica, or her name, she disrupted everything. So I was thinking that because she put the truth in there and it disrupted everything, that it kind of broke that connection, because everybody was starting to think for themselves because the truth and everything was out there. So, and by that time, the creature hadn't blown up yet. Max hadn't blown up yet, but he was struggling because it was getting really hot. He was like jiggling around and everything. So, as they said, the chip was keeping them alive to use their bodies from the natural resource. So maybe when she released the truth, it went in to Suki's chip and everything too. And since the chip was keeping her alive, she didn't want the editor to get away. This is another way that I was kind of thinking about it. She didn't want the editor to get away because she wanted the creature to get him too, maybe. Because they didn't really, like I said, they didn't really talk about it or say. So there are probably 2 or 3, and I know it's kind of inconsequential to the episode, like it's not a be all end all part of the episode to make or break it, but it's something that could be interpreted 2 or 3 different ways, which in Doctor Who it seems like a lot of things can come back around, so you don't want to miss anything when you're watching an episode, because it might be the smallest thing in this episode that comes back around in a couple seasons. I don't know. But a show that's been on this long, and knowing that some of the other things come back around or get touched on by other doctors and things like that. Uh, I try to pay attention to even the smallest things. So that part just kind of was like, I thought he said she was dead, and yet she had the wherewithal to grab his leg to keep him in there so he didn't escape. But it could have been, like you said, there could have still been enough connection to Max that he was directing her to do that. Or it could have been that when she got the truth, it was her being the freedom fighter that she was. It was her last ditch effort of trying to get justice to make sure he didn't disappear. Yeah. That's just the way I looked at it. So I was just curious about that.
If anybody watches this, leave us a comment on what you think happened. There's different points of views on stuff I find very interesting.
Yeah, you can interpret. They always put little subtle things in there and somewhat leave it open-ended to interpretation on what you think is going on. And it's really nice. As you said, it's nice to see other people's viewpoint, see how they interpreted it, because it makes for a good conversation.
Oh yeah. So Max is dealt with, the editors dealt with. Now it's time to deal with Adam.
Yeah, and the doctor was pretty mad.
Yeah, and I thought this was handled so well. I loved it.
Yeah, he grabbed him. Let's go. They got in the TARDIS, and they ended up right inside his apartment.
Yep.
And he took his sonic screwdriver. After their little conversation, how the doctor was extremely displeased and told Adam, that how he even tried to record it on his answering machine, which nobody uses anymore. But how he tried to download, record all the information that he was getting from the space station down to his own personal things, and how dangerous that could have been, because if somebody else would have found that, or it landed in the wrong hands, then it could quite literally destroy the world or turn the world into the way that it was before, and he was just doing it for his own personal gain.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Oh, just I wanted the knowledge," and he didn't believe him at all.
I didn't believe him
either. So took his little sonic screwdriver and blew up the answering machine, destroyed all that information. But what's funny is Adam still has his non-functioning chip, because it shouldn't be working, because it's not connected to the space station anymore. So, and yeah, and I kept waiting for it. I just knew it. I really did. I said, his mom's going to do something, and because his mom come home after Adam wanted to go back with them, and doctor's like, nope, you done messed up, basically. It's like,
Nice.
when you do that kind of thing, you're not gonna, you're not worthy, basically.
Said he only
Can't be.
takes the best, and he's already got
Yeah,
Rose.
yeah.
So I thought that
So
was nice.
yeah, that was pretty cool. And she wasn't happy either. She really wasn't happy either. And so they went off back in the TARDIS and took off. Uh, his mom's coming home. She can hear that noise, right, of the
Yeah.
TARDIS. She's like, "What's that? What's that?" And then, of course, uh, she's like, "Oh my goodness, I haven't seen you forever." That's not exactly what she said, but and I kept thinking, all right, she's gonna do something. She's gonna do something, or something's gonna happen, and either he's gonna snap or she's gonna snap, and his head's gonna open. I was waiting on it. I knew it was gonna happen. I kept waiting on it, and she's like, "Oh, it seems like time goes by like this," and she snaps her fingers, and his forehead opens up. Because something we didn't mention earlier, which I probably should have, was each person kind of has based on their level, on how they open their forehead when they were on the Space Station 5. So I think it was level 1, you snap your fingers and it opens up, or level 2, or maybe it's not the levels,
It's just
but
personal preference.
personal preference. And so his was just the snap of his fingers. So when she's like, "Seems like time goes by like this," and she snaps her fingers, his forehead pops open and she sees it. And that's kind of how the episode ends. So,
Yeah.
not shocked. I
No.
was like, it's coming, it's coming. You knew it was coming.
Well, especially after the Doctor and Rose were messing with them,
Yeah.
snapping their fingers.
Uh-huh. Well, at first it was the doctor, and then I thought it was kind of funny because it almost seemed like Rose was just being Rose, which is, really sweet. "Oh, don't do that.
Yeah.
Stop." And then she's like, "Because I want to," basically.
Yeah.
Then she did it. So it ended up pretty good.
So go ahead.
I was just going to say, as I said before, all the acting and everything in it was good. It was my least favorite. Like, I thought all the other ones were better. But that being said, I'm not saying it was bad. It just, it was just my least favorite out of everything I've seen so far. So everybody was good in it. The acting was good. I guess the storyline was okay, but it just wasn't my favorite. So
how many TARDISes would you give it?
well, from 1 to
1 to 5.
If I base it on, I give it like a 3.2 maybe, because after going back, basically everything was good. I enjoyed it enough, but it just wasn't my favorite story or my favorite one. So I put like a 3.2. I think I'll have to go back and watch the first one, but I'm pretty sure that I gave the first episode like a 3.8, 3.9, something like that, or a 4 maybe. Does that sound about right?
I don't remember.
I don't remember either.
I concentrate on the one we're doing now.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I give it a 3. 3's good, not great. You're right.
Yeah. Yeah. It's now, if we ever get to where we really want to critique it, and we could break that, we could break that up later in the future. Not saying we're going to start this, but maybe when we finish a season and we go into a next season, or after we finish a couple seasons where I've got a lot more under my belt, we could always do you know, an overall TARDIS for the whole episode, and then we could, just do what did we think about the actual storyline, because this
Right.
one, all the acting was great. Everybody did a great. If you just look at how they acted, everybody did a great job. I mean, there wasn't nobody I thought was not believable in how they were doing their parts and everything. So everybody was as good as they always could be. So even though the overall was down, the acting was still good. The people were good. I just didn't. It just wasn't my favorite story and my favorite episode. So that's what brought it down. Not the people, not the acting, and even the effects and everything for what they are. They were good for that time period. So the space station, the Floor 500, I thought looked really cool. The ice and everything. Wasn't a big fan of the creature in this one, but not saying that it looked bad. It's just a blob with teeth.
The teeth
Okay.
remind me of a supernatural vampire, from the show
Yeah.
Supernatural,
Mhm.
or like the
Yeah.
Leviathans. That's what it
Yeah.
really reminded me of. But
Yeah.
all right, well, we
So
both admit this is not our favorite episode, but we still liked it.
yeah.
So now let's talk about something that is my favorite, which is Who North America. What did you think about your first trip there?
I enjoyed it. I mean, not only we got to hang out together, which we don't get to do very often anymore. So we got to spend half a day together hanging out and go on a little road trip, and yeah. And when I first got there, uh, and you were you were showing me around outside, had the big TARDIS sign out there. That was really nice when I first saw it. I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. And then you walked me over to there's a big light pole, and they had some of the posters, I guess, that they use in another episode also was on there, but I remembered the one from Rose where she was missing,
Uh,
where they thought she was gone uh, 12 hours, but they were gone 12 months. So her missing poster, they had it outside. I thought that was a nice touch. Pretty cool. Um, when we first walked in the door, they have a Dalek speaking to you. That was pretty cool. Um, it was bigger, honestly. It was a lot bigger than I thought. And to be even more honest, uh, there were a lot more people in and out while we were there than I had expected, just to be going on a random day, not any special occasion or anything like that. So that just kind of showed me, you know, there's a fairly big fandom for
oh
Doctor
yeah,
Who.
oh yeah.
So, but we walked in. The right side was more museum-esque of things, all different, all different doctors, all different characters. outfits, pictures. There's some autograph pictures, I think, in there. Very high-end collectible type of items. Even around towards the ceiling on top of the display cases. That was lined up with everything, and that was just that side. And on the other side, with all the merchandise that you could buy, I mean, it was bigger than I thought it'd be. There was a lot in there. Big toy section, big apparel, Doctor Who merch, books, DVDs, audio,
Shirts.
anything you could think of, anything at all you could think of. They even had the outfits if you wanted to dress up like Doctor Who. They had hats, scarves, yeah, TARDIS, everything in there. Had a lot of Dalek, there was a lot of stuff. Games, toys, you name it, they had it. Yeah, so it was pretty cool. I enjoyed it.
Well, we're running a little long, so you want to get into what we got? Yeah. I do that every time I go. My wife, she's happy I go there, but sometimes she's worried when I go there, especially without her.
All right.
Show us what you got, then I'll go through my list.
Well, I can start with this shirt here that I got on, which
that is awesome.
I understand that a couple things I got I don't know about, but it looked really freaking cool, so I wanted to get it. So I got this shirt here. Fallen Angel, right? Weeping Angel.
Weeping Angel, yeah.
Okay. So I got that. I also have a coffee mug of the Weeping Angel. Now, with this mug also, which my coffee's cold right now, and I don't understand this, but I know that I will. When this mug gets hot, the angel disappears and goes completely white. And then these gravestones, these headstones here, they have little designs and everything in them. And of course it says don't blink, which I understand means something in the future. So this is just the box that it came in. Pretty cool mug. This kind of shows a little bit of what's on the headstone. It's got those pictures that show up, so it's pretty cool. I also had to get this t-shirt to represent Doctor Who North America there and where it's located. So, and then I'm going to bring this up and bring it closer to it here. See it okay?
Yeah.
So I had to get me a TARDIS poster here. Nothing. Your house isn't complete unless you've got a Doctor Who poster in there somewhere, right? And I believe that I think that's all that I got, because I was on a very limited budget and I went over that budget by double. But they also, real quick, you may have shown this in one of the other ones, but you can get this bag from that store, a really nice little tote bag, and it's got the Who North America. And real quick, is that clear?
Yeah.
Okay. For those of you that want to check it out, go to that website right there that's on that bag.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they do online stuff, so that's good. So what I picked
And
up,
once again, real quick, they are not a sponsor, so don't anybody
no,
get that confused. They're not a sponsor. They're just they're about an hour from us, and we try to support uh, local and
yeah,
independent owners and things like that. So, but they are not our sponsor. We just like to sponsor them.
right. We'll talk them up
Okay.
when we can.
Yeah.
Okay, so
All right. Go
I'm a
ahead.
toy guy, so I got toys. Uh, I got a Cyberman. I love Cyberman. Uh, I get a bunch
You
of
got a
them.
lot.
I got the 11th Doctor. I didn't have him. Well, I got him, but he's got a cowboy hat on.
Uh,
I got this android from Tom Baker era. And one more Cyberman. This is what I picked up there. Plus, I got a Dalek T-shirt, which is in the wash right now. So, but also, I buy stuff on eBay. So I got another Cyberman,
great.
a 80s Cyberman, which if anybody's keeping count, I know my wife is. That's 16 Cybermen now. I got the 7th Doctor. I think he's missing
Yeah.
his hat, maybe his umbrella, but I don't know. I got a really good deal on him. I like him a lot. And last but not least, I got a Sea Devil from the original series.
Mm.
So my toy collection for Doctor Who is getting really nice.
Yeah.
I can't wait till Christmas. I should have a bunch more stuff.
Yeah, that's quite a bit. Uh, I'd like to get some more of our own stuff as well. We've got our tumblers that we got, our travel mugs here for Two Talking Who. But I'd like to, for Christmas or anything else, I would also like to get, a mug and a t-shirt, hat
Yeah,
maybe,
I like a
get
T-shirt.
a hoodie because I wear a lot of hoodies, long sleeve t-shirts, stuff like that. So,
All right. Well, with all
but
that, we really appreciate you tuning in, watching. Maybe you guys are doing a watch along with us. That would be awesome. We'd love to get any of your comments. Uh, we do this for us, but we hope you enjoy it too. So please feel free to like, subscribe, share, and as you know, we're going to keep rolling through season 1, and I can't wait to get Rob to season 2.
yeah, and I've got one more announcement before I say goodbye, and I have not uploaded anything on it yet, but I did create a Spotify account under the same name. It'll be Two Talking Who,
Oh, nice.
and I am I am going to go back to our first episode, re-download the audio, and get it prepared. I might do a little intro to it vocally because we didn't have it at that time. And starting next episode that we're going to do, we'll probably jump into it at the beginning with that as well, where we'll plug the Spotify group as well as this YouTube group uh, of anybody that may run across it. So I got that created this week. I'm going to go back to the first one and probably upload an audio once a week until we get caught up to where we're at now. We're at episode 7. So over the next couple months, probably once a week until we get caught up with this one. And we're going to share it. We also have the Instagram that Casey maintains, Two Talking Who. So if you guys are on IG, you want to check out that page. So I'm looking forward to getting us up on Spotify also. So if you don't want to look at my ugly face and you just want to listen to us talk, then go over to Spotify. I'd say give me a couple days here. Let's say starting December 4th. Go over to Spotify and check out the podcast starting with episode 1.
Right on. That sounds great. All right, everybody. I really appreciate it. Have a great couple weeks.